Beginning of episode 3, we go back to the 16th century and we shot this in the Bristol Catacombs, which is a real place underneath Bristol. It's just incredible.
Originally it had been written as happening in a church. I knew of the Redcliffe Caves in Bristol, which were man-made caves just off the quayside, and they are very atmospheric, red sandstone caves, and of course it created a great atmosphere around the whole event.
We thought it'd be a great place to start episode 3 with this whole mythology as well of the vampires were around and this one poor family's been infected, should we call it, with devastating consequences to all concerned.
You have been tried in front of God and this country and found guilty of witchcraft.
It's like if it was a set, you think it was the most setty looking set you've ever seen in your life. You know that way? It's ridiculous looking, but it's for real, and I don't know what it was used for in the day, but it's really creepy.
One of the main reasons for choosing the caves is that they're right there, you know, job done. We brought in, I think, a bit of ironwork, you know, a few braziers, a table for our vampire to be stretched on and executed. But apart from that, we didn't have to do much. I mean, that's the great trick when you're working in this kind of area with limited resources, is to try and find as much visual for free.
With the writer, we talked about, and with Matt as well, the producer, was that it would be nice to bookend this. And so there's another subsequent scene at the end of the episode of where we bring Cara. Initially, Cara was just going to be held up in the funeral parlour and then taken to the woods and, you know, sort of like locked away in a dungeon. And I sort of suggested that why don't we bookend and go back to the caves? And I think it just works to you know, really well actually, to great effect.
I'll never be back again.
No.
I promise.
You won't.
Please, no. Please don't leave me down here. Please. The location of this scene is we're on the harbour side in Bristol. It's a real life cave. It's really dark and you have to sort of duck, and on the floor is completely wet mud, so when I'm pushed down on my knees and then falling on my back, it's like, well, the continuity people have to do a lot of work to get it back to normal, but it's wicked.
The only scene that Mitchell has there is when he brings Cara down there for the punishment, and he knocks out her teeth with a brick and he leaves her dead.
Mitchell's got to be seen to be imposing himself on any discerning vampire, and Cara has been quite discerning by going out and feeding on 2 young children. So unfortunately he takes her down back down to the caves, and he has to knock her 2 teeth out. Now actually the reality of this, we were obviously kind of conscious of the fact of actually using this stone and smashing it against there, it'd probably break her jaw, but then we kind of figured, well, she's a vampire, that'd probably set, so that's okay. But the biggest thing that's come out is that the teeth have got to go out. And we actually had a screening the other day with our producer, Matt, who actually just, kind of like turned away at the point of when it was hit, which is great. It's always and that's a sort of response that you want to try and gauge.
It's one of those scenes that if you don't get right straight away, you're never going to get it. I don't know if I've got it, because I've not seen it yet, but yeah, it was pretty intense. But like a lot of those vampire stuff, anytime I'm in the funeral parlour, it's always pretty intense, very wordy scenes, and I felt this year I really needed to sort of, I guess, be believable as a leader and to take control of these crazy vampires, and it's something you have to get right. There's no, it's hit and miss, and you can't miss.
I don't want this. I don't have a choice.
No. No.